chili. Nothing could be more associated with the Wild West, rough and tumble individualism, and ultimately the satisfaction of being well fed after a hard day of work.
Well, I'll rate this one a 10 out of 10. This one a 9 out of 10. Wow. Great. Delicious.
Beans help make the bad cholesterol in your body less likely to cause heart disease, along with cancer. That's in a top journal and well cited without a single contradictory finding. Also, look at this study. Many citations, all agreeing with its findings, which shows that in addition to beans fighting obesity and diabetes, any number of other diseases can be palliated by eating more beans. Ultimately, there is a debate around beans. Some people fail to cook their beans and they get sick. Further, the same fiber that creates all these benefits also creates some tummy trouble. So, for the first problem, cook your beans. I understand. Rage comment below if you are a patchouli stink hippie with sprouted mung beans in a mason jar. For the second problem, as you shift to more beans, your gut bacteria will change out. And that means weeks or months of transition between here and there. I recommend Beano. But there's a third problem. Beans need to have flavor to save your life, because the best bean is the bean that you will eat. The first flavor of a good chili is the flavor of caramelized browning known as the Maillard effect. By getting the golden brown and delicious, we can create a matrix of warm, deep flavors that cause a whole body sense of satisfaction when you eat it. It just feels like you've had a meal. As the sugar comes together with protein, it creates the raw building blocks of energy our body uses natively, which is why it tastes so good. Different proteins are built in different ways, and different cooking methods lead to different kinds of browning, which is why all those vegan meat replacers never really work. Only in highly controlled laboratory settings can we really get the right acids added to create that range of browning that creates a hamburger similar to that you would get on a grill. So, you'll find that the meat replacers that don't brown food but brown some breading, those are the ones that get closer to tasting like the meat you remember. While they tend to be healthier than even grass-fed beef or free-range chicken, they're more of a crutch because those foods aren't going to lead to a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. While there are some who have said that stomach irritation can be caused by spice and chili, and there's a grain of truth to this, if you consume too much capsaicin, that's the spice in chilies, well, it can lead you to shed the lining of your stomach, killing you. However, the amount you would need to eat in order to actually see that sort of problem is an order of magnitude greater than as much spice any sane person, or mostly insane people, would ever want to use. Instead, when eaten at levels like those here, chili powder and even much spicier plants can act to reduce stiffness, reduce stomach pains, and even help to keep blood sugar down. Smoke, on the other hand, is a flavor here that we'll get by adding smoked paprika or as a separate liquid, which can add a lot of flavor and keep bad cholesterol from causing as much cancer. The researchers who study smoke flavoring have a list of words used to describe all the ways different foods can be smoked. Smoky overall, ashy, woody, muddy or dusty, musty or earthy, burnt, acrid, pungent, petroleum-like, creosote or tar, cedar, bitter, metallic, and sour. Further, while some are concerned that smoke flavor is like smoke, bad for you, it's just not true. The bad parts of smoke attach to fat. So, if you use a water-based liquid smoke, like the ones you find in the store or used in paprika, you don't even come close to the real dangerous amounts. On the other hand, real problems occur when fats are smoked, like smoked animal products, because the fat absorbs the cancer-causing parts of the smoke. So, how do we do it? How do we get from some beans and spice to the whole rich flavor of a real chili? First, of course, we want to get that Maillard browning going. That requires something sweet and alkaline. Massa is the perfect fit here. It's both sweet because it's made of corn, which brings that sweet browning, and it's treated with lime or wood ash lye, which makes it into corn flour, much softer and more alkaline. To start, the easy recipe, we'll get those little cut up carrots, some chopped onion, lime juice, half a cup of massa, a can of red beans, a can of diced tomato, chili powder, oregano, smoked paprika, and cumin, and a tablespoon of canola oil. Start by taking your dried spices and adding them to a small bowl with 1 cup of warm water. Remember, never use warm water from the tap, because if you cook with that water, it draws out of your piping, potentially, brain-damaging parts of your plumbing. And in a way, cold water doesn't. Also, it just tastes bad. Now, add 1 tablespoon of lime juice to the water. This will bloom your spices, meaning they will hold on to the water and be able to spread more evenly into the final dish. Now, using a non-stick pot and adding in the little carrots and onions, no need for oil yet. Over a medium heat, add some water and swirl the carrots and onion together until the water starts to boil off. Add more water. Continue until the onions aren't white anymore. Now, make a space in the center of the pan without any carrots or onions. Once the water is gone, add a tablespoon of oil. Wait for the oil to get hot. You'll know that it's hot because the smallest wisp of smoke will appear in the oil, or a piece of the onion and carrot will start to brown. Now, add 1/2 cup of massa right on top of the oil and let it sit for a minute. Then start stirring. Once the oil and massa has coated everything, add another cup of water and your remaining canned ingredients. As that warms up, add your cup of warm water spices. Make sure to keep enough water in the soup that it doesn't get all clumpy, but don't add so much water that it's just not flavorful. Now let's pause for a moment and smell the food. Chili powder. It offers a warm, sweet high note needed to help you feel like you've got a substantial meal. Smoked paprika creates a deep bass note, a smokiness that reminds one of the chuck wagon. Oregano offers a middle note, a light green peak that plays well with the browning to remind you of meatballs, while also blending the other bold flavors together into a strong, lingering finish.
First there's masa cakes and the casa, it bakes hot cakes, the chili's hot matzo. Chili powder flakes become flour, beat takes namesakes as presence of power. Smoked paprika aches for a pizza and makes mistakes from flat to eureka. Then there's cumin, makes you feel human, awakes earthquakes of flavors that booming.
Massa by itself is a bright, whole sweetness. Chili powder smells bold, deep, and a little earthy. Smoked paprika smells smoky, sour, and a little earthy. Oregano smells bright, deep, sour, and a little earthy. See how the smells come together with the oregano, drawing together the deep chili and the sour paprika, then bringing their earthiness together with the sweet massa? Other vegetables, onions, carrots, and cilantro, are there to add body and cut through the boldness of all the above. It all creates this sense of harmonious notes, ready to help the sweet, deep addition of the Maillard effect in as the lead connection with the deep flavor of the red beans. Let's look at the nutritional profile. As we can see from Chronometer, we get a lot of proteins out of this, a great deal of fiber, and enough carbs to keep our brains functioning well. Additionally, we can see that there's a lot of added fat, not quite as much omega-3 as we need. When I look at this recipe, something really sticks out to me, and that's the oil. Oil doesn't actually add flavor, not canola oil at least. What it does is transfer heat, and also adds calorie density, which is enjoyable too, but if I was willing to put a little more work in, I bet I could get the Maillard effect out of my massa without needing oil.
Pretty good. Hot. But still love it. It's great. Ow. Pretty good. Okay.
That the beans is nice. The sauce is not colorful, but it's perfect. This tomato is perfect. As you can see, the sauce.
I imagine myself getting healthier. I think about eating food that's the most health promoting it can be, particularly as I fight my obesity. The best way to do that is to think about myself as a person who now loves to eat things that are as healthy as I can afford. And I understand health is a function of both fiscal and temporal budgets. A few simple swaps, though, can help make this dish even better at fighting both hunger and being much more healthy. One big problem with these oils is that they go rancid, particularly the supposedly good oil, like olive oil. They go rancid even though they don't taste rancid long before their best by date. For example, walnut oil is often given a date on the packaging of more than a year before it expires. But in reality, it only lasts 2 weeks. Furthermore, plastic is made from heating and reforming oil. Something similar happens when you cook oil. Even low temperature cooking of the safest oil, canola, leads to clinically significant amounts of acrylamide. To quote the article here, A creolin formation was found even at low temperatures, indicating that home cooking has to be considered as an indoor pollution problem. So not only does food get some of this obesity-causing stuff in it, even the air does. So what do we do about it? We rescue the Maillard effect. Maillard browning without oil will be a bit different because there is a different way the chemicals will be distributed. So, let's never kid ourselves. A healthy version of a dish cannot and should not pretend to be anything it isn't. Oil-free chili is just different. We have to say to ourselves, different isn't good or bad, but being healthy is definitely good. Notice that the Maillard effect isn't quite as deep. You'll also see that the massa retains a lot more of its flavor. This means that the individual other flavors in the chili will pop and more of the Maillard sweetness will be held in the sauce. To create a Maillard effect without the oil, we're going to need a broiler and a baking dish. Spread out the dry massa across the baking dish and place it under the broiler at 550 degrees. Leave the door open. Watch the massa. Don't get a suntan. There's really no good substitute for keeping a good eye on your food. In my kitchen, 8.5 inches from the burner, 38% humidity, 170 feet above sea level, it took approximately 6 minutes. Soon, the food will turn golden brown. Remove it carefully. The stuff's crazy hot. If you don't have any dark brown specks, you haven't quite done it right. Here we see that the Maillard reaction is closer to a nutty cereal than a meaty caramel. That's because the oil and other amino acids in the pot frying the massa created triophenes, which are similar to what you get from browning cured bacon. Now the Maillard reaction is creating priolenes, which is closer to what you get when you roast malt to make beer. Next, we'll want to maintain the ratios of fats. We can improve our nutritional profile by increasing our omega-3 intake by adding walnuts. Now for a whole plant version of chili beans. Chili. Nothing could be more associated with the Wild West, rough and tumble individualism, and ultimately the satisfaction of being well fed after a hard day at work. But then again, sometimes living a rough and tumble life has left you with diabetes or high blood pressure, maybe high cholesterol, even the threat of cancer or its reoccurrence. While there is no way to know for certain anything you do will stave off these outcomes, nutrition can play an underappreciated role in health. People overestimate the power of drugs by a factor of 10 and underestimate the effect of diet by a factor of 10. So, diet is probably 100 times more important than you think. To create a whole plant dish, life is going to get a little harder. There's going to be more planning, and ultimately the flavor profile is going to be a little flatter, but that's just the way it is when nothing bad is added and nothing good is taken out of our food. Despite this, there are some ways to compensate. So how do we do it? How do we get from some beans and spices to a whole plant derivative of real chili? First, we need to start either the night before or, if you have an instant pot, 2 hours before. Start by leaving a bag of beans overnight in a bowl of water, or set the instant pot to 40 minutes, then let it lapse for 40 minutes. In either case, you're going to want 6 times as much water as there are beans. Add a crushed garlic clove to the water and a few drops of liquid smoke. Further, we want to build on that broiler Maillard of massa. But now you'll need to dice whole tomatoes, shred a carrot, and add some sweetness that was lost from not using the stewed tomatoes from a can. So add both green and purple onions. Dice that finely. Also add coriander, liquid smoke, and fresh lime. Now you have a whole plant version of chili. It's been a bit more work to extract flavor from the chili, but it is needed because we're compensating for a lack of sodium in the canned products. Now, let's look at the nutritional profile. To maintain the flavor profile, we've added a reasonable amount of fiber. Now we're much closer to a heart-healthy ratio of sodium to potassium.
I'm looking at you, onions. I love you. Delicious. Wow.
Great!
Now the 9, because nothing is truly perfect, is 9.9. Well, I'll rate this one a 10 out of 10. This
It's a record 10 out of 10.
Let us know below some of your ideas for improving these recipes. And if you're benefiting from these videos, go support on Patreon. You have joined me on a trek toward delicious, health-promoting moderation through science. Come again, bring your friends.